Hi, and welcome to Long Live the Queen, where we talk about the women who made history. And by we, I mean the royal we, because it's just me. Today we're talking about Anne of France. So there was a war, because France was like, absolutely none. Now, 14-year-old Anne, by the time the war ended, Anne is now 14. This is 3 years later. And the Empire and Brittany lost the war. France won. And so they told her, never mind, you're not married to the emperor anymore. Your marriage is void. I don't know that they can officially say that, but that's what they said. They aren't the Pope, but they did win the war.
Okay.
So instead, she'd get married to Anne's brother, King Charles VIII, who was 21. So Anne kind of set this deal up, which I don't love, telling the 14-year-old she can't marry the emperor now she's married to the king. I get that it was politics.
Yeah.
But I don't love this whole forced marriage situation. I mean, it's not like she was in a better situation with the 29-year-old emperor. With her brother's marriage secured, Anne transitioned from a regent to a quieter role. She stepped back. And I know my Ricardians hate me here, but Richard III could take some notes about a regent just stepping down.
Well, from what I was reading, I understood it that Anne of Brittany kind of forced her out.
Oh yeah, they didn't get along. They didn't get
Yeah.
along for sure. And it was like it was going to end. I'm just mean she exited with grace.
Right. Okay.
So Anne of France, now 27, saw that her regency was, her brother was nearing 21. It was going to end. Like, he is a grown-up now. He's definitely a adult king now. He's 21. Again, I don't want a 21-year-old in charge of any of my kingdoms, but you do you, France.
Better than a 13-year-old.
It is. It is. He's a grown-up now, at least. Almost. He almost has a fully formed brain. He's just not good at the long-term consequences of his actions, which seems like an important thing for a king to know. I'm just saying, maybe wait till the brain is fully formed. So, let's see. In May 1491, Anne had her second child, Suzanne. And Suzanne was of frail health and had a mysterious deformity that, again, they don't go into specifics on.
Interesting.
But I feel like this just kind of made her remember how close she was to her sister. Like, I feel like her daughter Suzanne probably reminded her a lot of her sister Joan.
Right.
And so that June, Anne, Joan, and Charles got together with their spouses, all 6 of them, and they swore a sibling oath to love and protect each other always, because they'd been fighting. And you know Joan's husband was like, son of a bitch. Like, I'm trying to get this guy off the throne, not encourage his happy marriage to have babies. But he was there, and he didn't throw a public tantrum. So then Anne, Peter, and Suzanne then left home, returning to Bourbon, leaving, if he's still alive, Charles, their son, who by now would be about 15 or 16 if he's still alive. We'll get back to him soon because his life is fleeting at the moment. It is nearing the end. So, in somewhat unrelated news, tragedy struck unexpectedly, plunging Anne's family into chaos and raising questions that linger in history still to this day. So it's mystery time. Are you ready to solve the mystery?
I'm so ready.
Okay, so it's April 1498. Charles VIII is 27. He's always been of frail health, a little immature, but now he's a grown-up. He's 27. He was supposed to play tennis. And he struck his head on... They used to put these decorative pieces in the corner of doorways to kind of round off the doorway.
Oh.
He hit his head on that. That's why we don't have those anymore. I mean, I don't know if that's why we don't, but, like, that seems like a problem for the tall people. The decorative door frame. So he hit his head on that. But then he went to tennis. He played the game. And on the way back from tennis, he fell into a coma at 2 p.m.
Oh.
Yeah. And he died 9 hours later.
Oh,
Like,
my
he didn't
goodness.
starve to death. He just, 9 hours later, he was dead. And he was childless. And so this sparked a succession crisis. And modern analysis doubts that this head injury could have killed him. They're like, he couldn't have hit his head so hard that he played a perfectly normal game of tennis
Mm-hmm.
then fell into a coma, then died 9 hours later. That's just not
Yeah.
realistic. Although that's at the time they were just like, oh, he hit his head and then he died. That makes sense.
Yeah.
They
It seems like
think
maybe there was some poison or something in there.
I mean, they do say that he could have had epilepsy, and that could have been his poor health, his poor lifelong
Okay.
health. So it
Mm-hmm.
could be that he could have just had a seizure and died.
Okay.
That's the most likely culprit. But if we're looking for zebras here, and I'm always looking for zebras, it's time for Christina's Conspiracy Corner, which is what I call it when I just make stuff up. So just to stop the people who are going to comment, and those comments always start, actually, I know, I'm probably making this up, but hear me out. Around the same time, Anne's son Charles, now 22, might have also died. This is the only date we have for a possible death for him, was right around this same time.
Okay.
Now, he wouldn't be in line for succession. So, but there's a maddeningly historical black hole. But hear me out. Because he wasn't in line for the throne, because the prince of the bloodline can't pass through his mother. Women taint the princes of the blood, so it stops, dead end. He's not a
Okay.
prince of the blood. He's not in line. But if they were ever going to consider changing that rule, wouldn't it be for King Anne's son, who grew
Mm-hmm.
up at court, raised by
Yeah.
King Anne, who
Mm-hmm.
was still friendly with his, I guess, uncle, King
Yeah.
Charles? They were close in age.
Mm-hmm.
He died at the same time.
Mm.
So the only person left is brother-in-law, Joan's husband, the first prince of the blood.
Mm-hmm.
He would be threatened by
Was
both of them. If they're both gone,
L-
he's the only one left.
Louis of Orleans? Is
Mm-hmm.
that right? Okay.
Yeah. Or as we're going to call him in a minute, King Louis the XII, known as Louis the
Uh,
Fortunate. Fortunate indeed. So they died at the same time. There's no proof. Stop with the comments. Stop saying you made this up. I know I made this up, but I think it's valid. They need me solving crimes then. What do you think? What do you think? Was it epilepsy? Was it the head hit? Was it poison?
you know what? It could have just been like a crime of opportunity, like let's poison him and blame it on the head hit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's me with no other
Yeah.
information
We
at
know
all.
there's no proof, but you know what? We're here for the drama. If this was a Netflix drama, they would be poisoning him. Like, that's what would happen in the show, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the sudden loss of her brother, and then her son, probably, because we don't actually know, ushered in a new king and a pretty painful chapter for Anne's family. Like the golden age is over, because the king is dead. Long live the king. And Louis, Duke of Orleans, at 36, became King Louis the XII, Anne's brother-in-law, Joan's husband, and King Charles VIII's second cousin once removed, because in addition to him not wanting to be married to Joan, they're also second cousins once removed. So he's known to history as King Louis the Fortunate, because no one thought he was ever going to be king. King Louis the Fortunate is married to Saint Joan. Maybe that's why he's Louis the Fortunate. They're like, look at that wife. She's a saint. He's so fortunate to have her. That's how
Literally.
I'm going to think of it from now on. So after 24 years of marriage, Louis and Joan still had no children. So maybe she was
Wow.
sterile. Maybe he really just didn't ever see her. I mean, there's a lot of reasons it could have been, but they had
Yeah.
no children after 24 years,
Hmm.
which is risky as first Prince of the Blood, who is now King Louis the XII. He needs an heir.
Hmm.
And Louis did not like his in laws for all the reasons we mentioned before. He is like, fuck these
Yeah.
guys. And Anne of Brittany, the 17-year-old Dowager Queen, also didn't like those very same in laws for similar reasons. And together they hatched a plan, although together is in air quotes because he is a middle aged man and she is 17. So she was part of his plan and she just was like, well, it can't get any worse.
Yeah. She'll be Queen of France again.
Mm hmm. Louis sought an annulment to marry Anne, uniting France and Brittany, which was kind of what Brittany was trying to avoid in the first place, but whatever, it happened before, it'll happen again. So the annulment was messy, and Joan, humiliated, retired to a nunnery. And she was later canonized in 1950, and her episode will come up, so we will talk about her in that episode. And Anne of Brittany, who's now 19, became queen again, Queen of France for the second time. So that's noteworthy. That's Eleanor of Aquitaine noteworthy. Like Eleanor of Aquitaine was Queen of France, then Queen of England. Anne of Brittany was Queen of France twice with two different kings.
I think she was the only one, right? She's the only woman who's been Queen of France twice.
I think so. So, faced with personal and political upheaval, Anne drew on her resilience to protect her daughter and her legacy. She kind of just melted into Bourbon and was like, this is what I'm focusing on now.
Mm-hmm.
In 1503, Peter, at 64, died of a fever while trying to betroth 9-year-old Suzanne to a nobleman. And again, I say, Christina's conspiracy corner. Do you poison the bitch who's trying to marry off your 9-year-old daughter when you yourself were married to that guy at 12?
It depends on how he treated her. I mean, if he was a bad husband, but I don't really get that.
I think I'd poison the creep that's trying to marry off my 9-year-old
I mean,
daughter.
I guess that could be a last straw.
Allegedly. No shade on Anne. I support this alleged murder if it happened. Don't try this at home, though. This is not advice. So, Suzanne needed a husband for safety, though, now, because now Suzanne is in the same position that Anne, Duchess of Brittany, was in, where she's a 9-year-old duchess. Like,
Mm-hmm.
So, Anne wasn't going to rush it, though. In 1505, Joan, the sister, died at just 40, leaving Anne with no siblings left. So she's like the last one of her family of origin left alive. And that same year, Suzanne, who's 14 now, married her cousin, Charles of Bourbon, who was the next male in... She's the Duchess of Bourbon. Mm-hmm. If they skipped her, the next one would be Charles, who's now her husband. So they're like, how about we just make it a tie and they both get it, and they'll even though they're cousins.
So if France had Salic law, why was...
Because that didn't apply to duchies.
Okay, all right.
Counties.
Just the monarchy.
Yes.
Okay.
And like the vassal lords were still kind of their own little kingdoms. Like they're part of France, and they have to like follow the laws of the king, but they were kind of also kind of on their own.
Okay.
So they co-ruled. They were like, this will make it so there's no war, even though they're cousins. Like they're the next two in line. So if we just marry them, no fight. But also, if you remember, Suzanne was of frail health and had some unnamed deformity that they say, again, was possibly scoliosis like her Aunt Joan, but they mentioned it at her birth. So there must have been something else going on, too, because scoliosis is not something you would see at birth.
Well, and I imagine prenatal care wasn't all that great back in the day. No. So there could have been, like if they didn't have
things,
folic acid.
Yeah, it could have been a lot of stuff. But Suzanne's pregnancies all ended in stillbirths. Partially because of her bad health. Partially she's married to her cousin. I mean, there's lots of reasons. But yeah, that's disappointing when you're like, I don't know. I feel like I'm putting a lot of Joan's life on Suzanne, but I feel like their lives paralleled a little bit.
Yeah.
So even as her family dwindled, Anne's strength endured. Though each loss took its toll, obviously. In 1521, Suzanne died at 29. Childless. She succumbed to illness. And Anne, now 60, had outlived her husband, both of her children, and both of her siblings. So her son-in-law / nephew, Charles de Bourbon, he stayed single. So their shared grief kind of bonded them, but it was just the two of them, her and her son-in-law, cousin, nephew, son-in-law.
Interesting that he stayed single. Then he must have really been grieving for Suzanne.
Yeah.
Or he was gay.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been, maybe he was just loving the single life. Anne had once been surrounded by educated women her whole life. Like, even as a child, she was surrounded by educated women. And now she was alone, save for a few friends. And she ruled Bourbon with Charles, her son-in-law nephew. And...
Did you just say son-in-law few?
I said son-in-law nephew.
Okay, I was like, you were like making a portmanteau there.
Son-in-law
few.
Son and nephew. I don't know. Nephew-in-law. No. Son-in-law/nephew. That's what he is. Well, it's technically her husband's nephew, but it is still her daughter's cousin, so. So Anne's extraordinary life drew to a quiet close, leaving behind a legacy that would inspire generations. You ready for the tearjerker? Because I haven't even told you the sad part yet. In fall 1522, Anne of France, at 61, slipped away, a battle-worn queen with no family to hold her hand. Picture her in Bourbon's candlelit halls, regal yet weary, her eyes tracing the manuscripts in her books. Her books surrounded her.
Yeah.
And there was just no one left. And they don't know what killed her, if it was her age or her illness, or some suggested it was a soul tired out of outliving everyone, that she just was done. And she was buried in Bourbon, and her tomb is a testament to the life that bent but never broke. And her family was gone, but Anne's wisdom lived on through a timeless gift to her daughter and the world. Anne left no heirs, but gifted the world Lessons for My Daughter, a book for Suzanne, penned with love and wisdom, published posthumously. It's iconic, and it urges Suzanne to surround herself with frugal, honest folk, and preaching that true nobility lies in humility, kindness, and courtesy. And without these, all virtues are dust.
Wow.
It seems like wise words. Like, she really got it.
And I believe Suzanne's actual copy was found in Russia.
Very cool. It's Anne's mic drop moment. It's a manifesto for noble women that echoes through time, like, be humble but slay. Like, if it was an Instagram post, that's what she would have said.
Right. Yeah.
Anne of France was a titan, a regent at 22, outsmarting the Mad War, crafting the pious but shrewd noblewoman vibe, and that defined Queen for centuries. She outlived her kids, her husband, her siblings, and she kind of just boss bitched it all the way to 61 and just was like, I feel like she killed it. And then her book is just like the icing on top. It's just perfect.
And you can actually purchase that book today, a copy of that book.
On Amazon?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, that's amazing. I was joking, but now I'm going to look into it. How much is it?
It is Kindle, $19.99, paperback, $25.41, and hardcover, $90.93.
That is damn near reasonable.
Yeah, it's from the series The Library of Medieval Women.
Perfect. That sounds like a series I would like.
Yeah, Anne of France, Lessons for My Daughter, and then I believe it was translated by Sharon L. Jansen.
Perfect. This is part of why I keep you around. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. You're delightful. But I love this. What did you think of Anne?
I thought she was a badass.
Right? Like, this could be a show.
Yes.
Or a movie or anything. There are books, so I'm not discounting that. But, like, all the terrible shows we have now, this would be an excellent show.
Yeah. And she was, like, graceful about it. She wasn't vicious or...
Even when, like, she was the regent, she raised her brother, basically, for his teenage years. She kind of got ousted, and she just gracefully was like, okay, I'm going to go live in Bourbon. Peace, bitches.
I mean, she took what life gave her, and she was able to...
She made the best of all of it.
Use it, yeah.
I really think she is the best part of both of her parents. Well, for our listeners, you can share your thoughts with me at longlivethequeenpodcast@gmail.com. Slide into my DMs on Facebook or Instagram at longlivethequeenpodcast, or join the Royal Court on Patreon, where Tuesdays we talk about the Tudors. The link is in the show description.
Long live to all the queens out there, and until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Will be remembered. Thanks for listening.